God's people that I served were his greatest gift to me. And my first church service was Christmas Eve. It was the first by myself. I had great lay people. I have them still. They're friends of mine. It's something to behold when you have people who care about you as the pastor and you're caring for them as pastor, and they are able to both be a part of what you're doing, but also be served by you.
You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We are recording at the LCMS Convention in Phoenix, Arizona. And for today's Set Apart to Serve conversation, we'll chat with Dr. Hardy and Dr. Spittel of the Concordia University System about their path to becoming pastors and how they serve today.
Today's episode of The Coffee Hour is underwritten in part by Concordia University Chicago. You can learn more about Concordia University Chicago by visiting CUS.edu.
Joining us today, the Reverend Dr. Jamison Hardy. He's president of the Concordia University System. Dr. Hardy, welcome back.
It's great to be with you.
Usually we're sitting in studio in St. Louis. We are now at the Convention Center in Phoenix for the LCMS Convention, and lots of people walking by as we're visiting here. So
many faces laughing at us like that one.
Also joining us today, the Reverend Dr. Douglas Spittel. He's vice president of the Concordia University System. Dr. Spittel, welcome back to the Coffee Hour.
It's wonderful to be back with you guys again. Thank you.
It's fun to get to visit at places, at events like this, where we get to talk with people from all around the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod and our sister churches and friends as well. And we appreciate you taking some time out of all of the busyness of convention to sit down with us here and chat with us about Concordia University System. Today, we're going to change it up a little bit and not just talk about what's going on at the Concordia Universities today, but also your paths to becoming pastors, which I know involves some Concordia Universities as well.
Yes.
So let's start with your stories. Who wants to go first?
We'll let Doug because he's older.
Oh.
Right. Dr. Spittel.
Throwing under the bus already.
Home. Where's home for you?
Home, I was born and bred in Baltimore, Maryland. For the rest of you, that's Baltimore, Maryland. At Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Catonsville, Maryland.
Tell us about this journey to becoming a pastor. When did you start thinking about that path to becoming a pastor?
Well, I was, I'm a cradle LCMS Lutheran, grew up at Emmanuel, was very involved in the youth group and in all the choirs. I spent a lot of time at church, and I remember distinctly Palm Sunday, 1980. I was at Divine Service. I was Pastor Walter Molinsky's acolyte, and I don't remember the sermon, so I probably wasn't listening as well as I should, but I was 15 years old. And I thought, all the work I do, I love the church, I love being here, and I could do this I could do this for the rest of my life. So I talked to Pastor Molinsky about it, and I hear the mariachi band is playing now, so I get a soundtrack.
Temporary worship right there.
I get a soundtrack. And I spoke with Pastor Molinsky, and he was just thrilled that I wanted to study for the ministry. So that following summer, 81, we took a little trip, my family and I. We stopped at Concordia Ann Arbor and at Concordia River Forest at the time, now Concordia Chicago, and looked at them. And we stopped also at the Fort Wayne Seminary on our way back. I was terribly ill. I had mononucleosis.
Oh no!
So
I told you not to ask.
I was in a fever and all this, and but had a wonderful reception by all of those institutions. They were also thrilled that I wanted to study for the ministry, and so I ended up going to Concordia Ann Arbor, and went there as a freshman in 1982, graduated in 1986, and then went to the Fort Wayne Seminary. And graduated there and was ordained in 1990 and sent to my first parish, a little SELC district church outside of Pittsburgh called John Huss Lutheran Church.
Amazing.
And the jokes that came from my classmates between call day and graduation are things like, if they have a church barbecue, don't go.
No.
Because of what happened to Huss.
Yes.
It's the only John Huss Lutheran Church in the Synod. And you can look him up, Google him, folks.
So great history there.
There's a great history,
But I, very formative years. I spent almost 8 years there, and then I was called to First Trinity in downtown Pittsburgh to serve there, and that involved campus ministry and blind ministry and deaf ministry and homeless ministry and a vibrant young congregation. Great music there and liturgy. And I spent 26 years there. While I was there, I earned my doctorate, studying at both Duquesne and at Pittsburgh Theological Seminary. And served on several boards of directors. I was on the board of directors at Concordia Lutheran Ministries, where the board chairman assigned me to the foundation board. And I was completely overwhelmed. I'm sitting in this foundation board meeting the first time, and the investment guys are just geeking out with all these terms, and I'm just Googling everything, trying to figure out. And I thought, why am I on this board? Lord, why did you put me here? Well, now I know, because all these things that I did while in the parish and working with the people and working at the universities and working with these very high-end investment boards was preparing me for this, for when I was called to work with Concordia University System and help the collaborative efforts of our universities as we move forward in mission to prepare the next generation of church workers who maybe 40 years from now will be sitting with people like you doing a similar interview.
It is always a little wild how God prepares us for things that we have no idea what's down the road for us, and that is in your story as well. Who encouraged you along the way to consider pastoral ministry while you were in seminary, doing all of these things? Who were the people that really encouraged you along the way?
I'd say in high school, it was my pastor, and my parents, it wasn't really on their radar. My mom wanted me to be a medical doctor. So the first day I told them I'd like to study for the ministry, first words out of my mom's mouth were, "You won't make any money." But after getting over the initial shock, my parents were very supportive. And then at the seminary and college, there are scholarships and sponsorships from congregations, and some of them are small. I remember at the seminary getting a gift every month, a check every month, like clockwork, from a little congregation in Minnesota. They had never met me, but it was $25 a month, and that covered the electric bill. This is in the late 1980s.
Those were the days.
And there was always a letter that came with that check, written by one of their people, and it was very encouraging. Fieldwork churches, Vicarage Church, just everything we've got baked into the system of not only clergy, but also the people in the congregations that we're supporting and encouraging along the way.
You mentioned a little bit about how all that has your experience, your formation, all has really shaped and prepared you for what you're doing today. Help us understand what you do today as a pastor for the Concordia University System.
36 years of pastoral ministry honed my skills, sometimes against my will, of keeping my mouth shut and listening, and knowing when to speak and when to offer my assistance, and especially how to approach issues. One of our provosts said it best: the biggest room in the house is the room for improvement. Any organization can always improve, and that's true of all of our universities. That's true of our system. And it's all a matter of how you approach it. And you can go in like a bull in a china shop and say, "You've got a problem and I'm here to fix it." Well, that's not going to work. Or you can say, "Hey, we're doing some really great work here. What can I do to help you improve? Where would you like to improve?" And very often they already know the areas that you've identified. And then that creates a relationship. That creates a pastoral relationship, because a lot of our work with CUS is ecclesiastical supervision. And supervision can either be heavy-handed or it can be pastoral and helping. And I like to believe that Dr. Hardy and I take that pastoral approach in saying, "Okay, how can we help you?" And we will do our best, and we will work hard to help you. What do you need? So to listen to people's needs and to identify those and be ready to help them and bring them to a place where they ask us instead of us telling them.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Hardy, what about you? Where were you born and raised?
Well, when he came onto the board of the foundation at Concordia, I was the one geeking out about the finances. But no, I went to Lutheran grade school in Michigan, and I'm a Michigan boy. And my pastor told me I was going to be a pastor, and I just laughed at him. I told him I was going to play football for the Lions, and then he started to kind of groom me in the sense of, I was the president of our youth group, and they put me out in front of this Bible class, and I was the judge at the Lenten mock trial, so I got to put his cassock on and stand in the pulpit. And, he was very smart looking back at exposing me, to things. My brother went to Concordia University in Chicago, and I told my parents I would never go to Concordia. And then I got offers to play football at Eastern Michigan University and to wrestle at Olivet College. And all of a sudden, CUW showed up at our high school in wrestling season, and the football coach took me, and who ended up being my college roommate, Jason Zielinski, out to dinner. And I ended up at Concordia, Wisconsin to play football. And then the wrestling coach came to me in the first semester and said, "Do you want to wrestle?" We started a new team, and that was a little bit easier path for me because it's a whole lot less. You got 150 guys playing football, and you got like 20 wrestling. And wrestling was my favorite of the sports, even though I really had success at football. And so I started playing football. I was doing youth ministry at Concordia, and I realized I hated it. Not the youth, okay? I hated being the one that had to stay up all night, drive the van at 8 o'clock in the morning the next morning. And, you hit that 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. kind of window where you're like a zombie. And I just hated it. And I asked myself, what can I do with the gifts God gave me? At the time, I was a teacher ed student. I was going to be a high school teacher, Broadfield Social Science. And thinking about my pastor telling me I was going to be a pastor all those years, I just realized that's probably the line for me. So I wasn't pre-sem, never was pre-sem. And my senior year, I went to Dr. Maschke, and I said, can you include me with all that pre-sem stuff? I want to go to the seminary. And got to know the recruiters, S.T. Williams from Fort Wayne with Roosevelt Gray, and they made it possible for me to go to Fort Wayne. And once I was at Fort Wayne, the story is told. And once I was at the seminary, this is what's going to happen. And I like Douglas, I can see how God has prepared me along the way. And I told my pastor I wasn't going to be a pastor, but truly I've never thought about doing anything else but serving the church. I really haven't. My family, my father, I proudly say that my dad was just a layman. I'm not following in a long line of pastors. In fact, I was the first pastor in my family. My great-grandmother, Martha Cloa, lived to 99, and she told everyone that she would not go to the Lord until she had a pastor. I was ordained in December of 2000, and Grandma died in January 2001. I don't know how she had that deal. I thought Simeon was the only one that had a deal with God that he wouldn't go see the Lord until the fulfillment. But I asked Grandma that one time, and she told me, she said, sometimes you just have to ask God for things, and he gives them to you. We've got many other church workers since I was ordained in 2000, but yeah, it's a family event. Church was our life. And so my brother, Tim, is a Lutheran High School North vice principal. He's been there for 30 years, right out of college. And it's our life. And I've known nothing else. And I joyfully tell people I know nothing else. And I'm blessed as Bishop of the English District previously to be able to go into congregations and be able to encourage young men the same way. Us pastors kind of have the ability to see the Spirit resting on others, whether it's teacher, DCE, pastoral ministry. We kind of just, and I made it a goal everywhere I went as bishop to find at least one young person and encourage them to go to Concordia,
We're talking with Reverend Dr. Jamison Hardy and the Reverend Dr. Douglas Spittel of Concordia University System for a Set Apart to Serve conversation, learning their stories about how they became pastors. And we're going to talk more about that formation as pastors in just a moment. You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
I'm Dr. Russell Dawn, president of Concordia University Chicago. I'm thrilled to announce the Prepared to Serve Church Professional Guarantee. Any new student in one of CUC's 6 church work programs will pay no more than $5,000 in annual tuition and required fees guaranteed. Prepared to Serve is a donor-funded initiative. Support future church work students by becoming a funding partner at CUSchicago.edu/prepared to serve. Concordia University Chicago. With Christ at the center, we stand tall for the church.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We are at the LCMS Convention in Phoenix, Arizona this week, and we are talking with our friends from Concordia University System. In our Set Apart to Serve conversation, we're talking with Dr. Hardy and Dr. Spittel about their path to becoming pastors. And I want to talk about that formation experience at Concordia Theological Seminary. Both of you went to Concordia Theological Seminary. Dr. Hardy, tell us about you brought us up in your story to seminary. Let's talk about that formation at seminary and what that looked like for you as a Lutheran teacher ed student going into seminary. You weren't planning on seminary initially when you started college. What did that look like going into seminary then without necessarily all of the pre-seminary preparation?
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It was scary because academically I wasn't that young man coming out of St. Paul. We have a young man that just left Concordia St. Paul who got the theological seminary's scholar.
Yeah.
Proficient at Greek. Finch. Yes.
Yeah.
Proficient at Greek, proficient at Hebrew, all that. I didn't have any of that. And I didn't have it in part because I was learning to be a teacher. I was training to be a teacher. So I went through Greek boot camp in the summer of 1996, and it was terrifying. It really was. But I wasn't terrified at the time. Looking back on it, it was terrifying, and I kind of ignored it. It's kind of like going into a Halloween haunted house. It's going to be scary, and you're not scared until they scare you. You know what I mean? And so I went into it and eyes wide open, and just it happened for 4 years. But it was the best 4 years really of my academic life. The influence of the professors. I can give you a long list of men that They spent time helping me be who I am today. And that was the same at college at Concordia, Wisconsin as well. Dr. James Jurgensen, Timothy Maschke, these guys, they poured into us. And, I see that as my role now to pour into others that are preparing. And Douglas and I, we're constantly talking to the students at the Concordias, preparing them for what's to come. And because, by the way, when you go to seminary, it kind of goes like a lightning bolt. You show up, and before you know it, you're at Christmas time of your first year. And then before you know it, you're watching guys get vicarage and call services in April. And next thing you know, you're in your second year, and you're getting ready to get your call service for vicarage. And so it was really a spectacular time in life. I loved being at seminary. I love the Fort Wayne Seminary locally, physically, just being there. I absolutely love going back. Because I don't got to work when I'm there, So it's a really wonderful experience to be a residential seminarian.
Dr. Spittel, what about you? What was seminary formation?
Well, I had the platinum plan, so I had 4 years of pre-seminary at Concordia Ann Arbor, where professors like Dr. Heckert, Dr. Mossman, they prepared pre-seminarians not only in the languages, so I had my prerequisite Greek and Hebrew, but also how to think theologically, how to work through things that way. And then on to the seminary, where our seminary professors, I was blessed to study at the feet of Robert Preuss, Kurt Marquardt. With the preparation I had to think theologically, then they challenged us to do it. Mm-hmm. But in the seminary, not only was there the academic rigor in the classroom, but also the academic give and take after class in the dorms, at the coffee hour, even at the prof's homes sometimes. But that was all balanced out with the fieldwork experience. I did my fieldwork under Pastor Herbert Shum at Zion Garrett. And then my vicarage at Emmanuel Lutheran Church in Sebring, Michigan, with Pastor Martin Hagenow, and taking that academic knowledge and actually putting it into practice and working with the people and always being in touch with the people of God. So we weren't, sequestered away in some ivory tower, but we were learning it and using it at the same time. And it was a really good preparation That 8 years of residential preparation, I wouldn't exchange it for anything in the world. It is really what prepared me for parish ministry, for my continuing education and later degrees, to engage in dialogue with people from other denominations, other confessions, without having to apologize for my own. That was the formation that I received across 8 years in the Concordia system.
You know, it's ironic, though. Douglas vicared at Emmanuel in Siebelring, and in 1997, I was the summer vicar for the Thumb of Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I was preaching for the first time on my last Sunday in summer at Emmanuel Siebelring. And I had known Pastor Hagenow, and I know Douglas was there. And I'm from Michigan, so I know a lot of people there. And those people who know me know I can get pretty passionate in a sermon. And they are on the Lutheran Hour. And the guy in the balcony who's watching the needle, I go like this. He's waving like, and I just, it's a great church, by the way. It's a beautiful congregation there in the Thumb of Michigan. But that's how small the church is. Here we are now 35 years later working together. He vicared there. I preached my last sermon on summer vicarage in Emmanuel Siebelring. And, as we travel around our Concordias, it's just amazing all the connectivity that we see at the seminary and then at the Concordias. Douglas was at CUAA. I was at CUW. Here at the convention, I can't tell you the number of people that I run into and I say, we went to school together at Mequon, or we went to school together at Fort Wayne. And it's really cool to see actually how small our church is, but how big it is.
And that's something that I pointed out at the last I spoke at the Higher Things Conference in St. Louis the second week, and the question came to me, I'm thinking about studying for seminary. Why should I go to a Concordia instead of a state school? And I made this very point. I said, that 8 years of formation, those first 4 years at a Concordia University, not only are you going to get good, solid Lutheran biblical foundations academically, but you're also going to create the relationships and the friendships here, not just with other future pastors, but with the other church workers you'll be working with, teachers, DCEs, deaconesses, parish musicians, and you're going to know these people for the rest of your life, and not only catch up with them at conventions and conferences, but very often actually working with them, if not in your local parish, then in your district, or working on big events like with Higher Things and these sorts of things. So, and that's priceless. There's no other way to get that sort of formation and those sorts of foundations and those friendships that really help you for the rest of your life working for the Lord and working for the church.
And then you go to an LCMS convention, and then you see all of your classmates from Concordia University.
There are five guys here. There's five of us here from Titus Dorm at Concordia College, Ann Arbor. We were all in the dorm together, and all five of us are here right now.
And if we had cell phones back then, all five of them would not be here. No, I'm just teasing.
We have just about 2 or 3 minutes left. I want to talk about those early years as a pastor, what you learned in those early years that has been helpful to you throughout the rest of your vocation as pastors and now serving with CU.
Yeah, it's very easy for me. I learned very quickly that God's people that I served were His greatest gift to me. I was installed. Well, Douglas was actually at my installation on the 17th of December, and my first church service was Christmas Eve. It was the first by myself. Go get 'em, Hardy. And I had great lay people. I have them still. They're friends of mine. And it's something to behold when you have people who care about you as the pastor and you're caring for them as pastor, and they are able to both be a part of what you're doing, but also be served by you. And it's just been a blessing. My whole ministry, I've had great people I've served with and for and to, and I'm sure Douglas would feel the same way. And those relationships they're invaluable. And I thank God for being able to have them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people that I served at John Huss Lutheran Church, the vast majority of them were old enough to be my grandparents. And yet, because of their respect for the office of the Holy Ministry, they received me, this 25-year-old kid, as their pastor, and helped me along in this first few years, learning the ropes, and we dealt with some pretty heavy traumas that happened to some of the families in that parish, but as a congregation pulled together and supported one another, and it really taught me what it meant to be the shepherd of God's people.
What is your encouragement for our listeners, for young people who are looking at universities, or for those who have a little more wisdom and years behind them, who are working with young people? Your encouragement to consider Concordia as they're looking for their futures.
That's great. I just spoke at Higher Things in Denver last week, and I had this question. And I said, to you young folk out there that don't know much about Michael Jordan, I'm going to give a quote from Michael Jordan and the Nike tennis shoe company. Just do it. I mean, really. I asked them, I said, if you've been thinking about church work, just do it. The Lord will bless you. And I think, the most important people in the life of future church workers are people encouraging them to do church work. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, and so just do it has always been a part of my life. And I told these young people out in Denver, just do it. Mm-hmm. God will bless you.
Yeah.
And we got great Concordia Street to go to. So
absolutely. I told the students at Higher Things in St. Louis, in the next couple of years, you're going to have some big life decisions to make, and that might mean the military, that might mean trade school, but if it means college, university for you, consider Concordia. And we pray that for many of you that'll be church work, but even the other godly vocations in the world that the Lord would lead you into. We have degree programs for you where, again, you'll learn your academics from a Lutheran biblical worldview with Christ at the center, and you're going to develop friendships here that will last a lifetime in the faith and help keep you in the faith. And honestly, sometimes people go thinking that, well, I'm going to study to be an engineer, and lo and behold, they end up 4 years later in the seminary. How did this happen? Because the
theological engineer.
The Lord has plans for us that sometimes we don't know. So I say consider Concordia. Even if it turns out you don't go, because you want to do nuclear engineering or something, and we don't have that degree program yet.
Always a yet.
But that's it. But still, consider Concordia. Take a look at the Concordias. We have 5 of them on many campuses. I think you would find something for your academic future there at a Concordia. So every LCMS family should have the Concordia universities on their list to check out for academic excellence.
To learn about the Concordias, you can visit CUS.edu to find out about all the Concordia universities. Our guest today, the Reverend Dr. Jamison Hardy, president of the Concordia University System. Dr. Hardy, thanks for being our guest.
It's always a pleasure.
And the Reverend Douglas Spittel, vice president of the Concordia University System. Thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you.
You can learn more about Set Apart to Serve by visiting lcms.org/SAS. You've been listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour is a production of KFUO. This program and our station are dependent on listeners just like you. To support KFUO Radio, our podcast, and all the other programming, please make your gift or pledge today at kfuo.org/give and help us continue sharing the good news of Christ for you anytime, anywhere. kfuo.org/give.